All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's Regional Report, a GPEC Virtual Series. A great topic today, pivoting your business model. A great panel coming up as well. I've noticed we have close to 500 RSVPs for this one, so a very engaged audience. My name is Eric Sperling. I'm the Managing Director here at the Social Television Network. If you're not familiar with STN, we are a local streaming network based here in downtown Phoenix. All of our shows and segments are dedicated to community growth, local leadership, and actionable solutions. That's where we partner with GPEC to help bring you this virtual series. We've interviewed their president and CEO, Chris Camacho, many times. He'll be joining us as well shortly. But let's get to the topic of today. And as always, some quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar will last for about an hour. Audience members will be muted and without video. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the GPEC website and social media sites. Now, you can submit questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Just want to let everybody know that we'll try to get to those questions if we can. Should you experience any technical difficulties at all, as always, we recommend just try logging out, checking your connection, and logging back in. And then we do invite you to share this information on social media. Please feel free to tag GPEC and use the hashtag Greater Phoenix Together where appropriate. Again, great panel coming up today, but want to mention the next regional report will be on resurgence of U.S. manufacturing. That will be Tuesday, May 12th, again in the afternoon. That will be from 2 to 3, so look for that invite coming up. Okay, today we are hearing from 4 phenomenal panelists. Kimber Lanning, she is the founder and executive director at Local First Arizona. Monica Villalobos, she is the president and CEO of the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Cindy Dach, she is the co-owner of Changing Hand Bookstore. Aisha Tedros, she is the owner at AT&T Oasis Coffee. We're going to join them in just a moment and have a great discussion here. But first, we'd like to check in with GPEC President and CEO Chris Camacho as we sit here. It's May 6th, Chris, and I believe you have an update for us on our current economic status.
Great. Thank you, Eric, and happy Wednesday to everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar series. Such an exciting and challenging time for our community. And what I'd like to say first, I just jumped off a call with my second CEO in the healthcare sector today, and I tweeted about this a moment ago. So I was just reflecting on this fabric organization in Tempe, which does textile support and launches a number of companies through this platform. And just getting off the phone with a couple of the healthcare leaders, they were referencing kind of the uniqueness of this community coming together in this challenging COVID time, and specifically this particular group putting together various textiles, including gowns and a lot of other supplies that are sorely needed in the healthcare sector. So just applaud the community for all the rich support of one another and business to business, and we're going to get through this together. So first, what I wanted to do is just reference the fact that we're in the bowels of developing an economic acceleration plan. I've had the pleasure of working with Monica and Kimber, who you'll hear from today, are just steadfast leaders in our community. And we are excited about what's ahead, even though we're still in this challenging healthcare time. Over the last 30 years, we've had the pleasure of working with over 800 businesses that have relocated to this region, and over $16 billion worth of new investment and 145,000 jobs. And I think what's really opened up my eyes, particularly with the immediacy of this downturn tied to COVID, was the significant impact and influence our small business enterprises have on our community. And we went through the first round of PPP and then on to the second round. And I can tell you just the enormity of the response from the community to support the small business enterprises in the Paycheck Protection Program. And I'm sure the others will talk about that in a moment. But we did roughly 2.5 times the loan awards than we did in the first round. And so I just call out the Hispanic Chamber, Kimber's work, and many other partner organizations. We dramatically changed the outcome as a community, but there's much more work to be done. No question, unequivocally, there's more work to be done to support small businesses at this time. In addition to the coming up plan, I also wanted to share with you, as we've moved to this digital segment, we're now on average having 500 to 600 individuals follow and support these webcasts and this information exchange. So I want to just thank the community and Bethany, who has been our stalwart in support of putting together these webcasts. In addition to that, those of you that are not partners of GPEC today, we'd encourage you to get involved with us. I mean, we're working hand in hand, as I like to talk, as the GPEC Army in the partnership that we have with all of our communities and private sector leaders, because it's going to take an army to get through this COVID crisis. And so if you're not involved, please reach out to Nicole or Bethany, and they can share information about how to get involved and activated with us. Two final things today. First is I'm excited to announce this an I6 technology and innovation partnership and grant that we've been working on. This is really to support technology-based startups that are pivoting their companies to support a COVID response. Could be a COVID software technology, could be a new platform, could be a healthcare, could be a wearable, it could be a variety of different aspects, but we want to support technology-based startups. And we've had the opportunity over the last several weeks to work with Partnership for Economic Innovation, ASU, CEI, the Startup AZ Foundation, and many others. And there's going to be 2 different webcasts coming up the week of May 18th and 25th. So mark your calendars for that. And more information, I'm getting notes across my radar right now. Do not announce anything more than that. So there's more information coming. Stay tuned Friday for that. So lastly, what I wanted to do, and again, they've given me 5 to 7 minutes, and I see Eric smiling already, is I want to show 2 visuals, because again, I'm an economic data guy, and I can't leave a webcast without talking about the visual of the data. So can we pull up just these 2 specific slides that I want to show visual on? Because if not, I'm going to show them as a caricature with my hands, and you're not going to want to see that, I promise you. So these are, I talked about being in the data bunker, and Eric, I do promise just about 2 more minutes, and I will relinquish my time here. So one of the things we've been heavily debating over the last really 3 to 4 weeks is, what does this recovery look like? You've heard terms like a V-shaped recovery, an elongated U-shaped recovery, even a square root recovery. If you think about a massive drop, if you're going back to 8th or 9th grade, a massive drop, and then a recovery, but that recovery doesn't fulfill back to its original position. The 2 most likely scenarios in talking with global leading economists for Arizona is that A1 and A3 are the most likely timeframes and visuals of the recovery. Now, A3, as you see in the center of the screen, references the ability to contain the virus, contain the spread of the virus, and the growth recovers what I would characterize an elongated U, meaning it's not a V where it's immediate downturn, immediate recovery, but it's one that's likely a longer tail. And, that's one option. The other, A1, references continued reoccurrences of a virus where we've tried to contain it, we reopen, but there's a resurgence of cases that impact the healthcare infrastructure, and then ultimately impact the remaining balance of small business and enterprise business in the event that we have to shift back to some kind of stay-at-home order. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But these are kind of the 9 scenarios, and all the data I've looked at, the premise of this recovery is going to be largely predicated on 2 things. And again, I've looked at a myriad of different things. First is going to be the demand cycle of the consumer. How do consumers think about spending their money back in society? It's going to be a very important question as we re-enter or reopen society. And the precursor to that ultimately is how states are able to open up their economies safely. So sector by sector, type by type, and consumer confidence has never played a more significant role in how we recover. As many of you know, we're a TPT or sales tax dominated state. We collect sales tax, which is our large base of general fund for our state and our cities. So if you're not spending money, you're not seeing the turnover within retail, restaurants, hospitality, it's going to be a longer curve. So again, I just bring this slide up because I think it's really important to understand where we are, in the current cycle. And, my hope is that you'll see this recovery plan coming up, and you'll be optimistic as I am about our future. So this last slide just illustrates what to expect in the near term. So let me just X out here. Okay, so this is the quarterly GDP expectation. So you see the dip in these 2 scenarios. A1 represents a 13% contraction by the end of the year. And that goes back to that dip we're talking about and that elongated U recovery that could persist through the latter part of 21, which is, again, is a longer tail than I think a lot of us would hope. But that is a realization in the event that we're not able to manage the virus spreading. Whereas A3, going back to the visual on that, that's more of your check mark, somewhat check mark, or V-shaped recovery, where we contain the virus and we slow and steady grow, and things, quote unquote, return to normal in some midpoint of 21. So I say that just because We've been pouring into this information. I can't understate the importance of small business, the great work we're seeing in microloans, micro grants, the underbanked community. We're just seeing so much support, and even the federal government in the second round of the PPP really focused on that underbanked segment. And I do believe that's why loans were a bit smaller in the second round, but ultimately more loans were made or awarded to Arizona small businesses. So with that, thanks to each of you for joining us today. I'm really excited to hear from each of the panelists. And with that, I'll go on mute. And again, thanks for being here today to all of our partners.
All right, Chris, thanks as always, and just tremendous information, and great to hear, 2.5 times the loan awards compared to the first round of funding. And so let's keep that focus on small businesses now, and we're going to talk to Kimber Lanning. Kimber is the founder and executive director of Local First Arizona. In her charge to lead resilient local economy, she has grown their membership to 3,000 diverse business members, over 4 statewide offices, and she's also the owner of the iconic Central Phoenix record store Stinkwigs. So we'll talk music after the webinar, Kimber, but let's focus on what's going on in the local business community, because I know you have some great information for us as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. So as they pull up my slides here, I'll just start explaining. Today what we're going to be doing is talking about pivoting businesses. Of course, we are hearing from all kinds of businesses that are doing tremendous work. And we've been hearing a lot about businesses such as breweries that are doing hand sanitizers, furniture makers that are transitioning into manufacturing useful tools to face this crisis. But today I'm going to be focused on sort of an overview of where we are with the support that we're offering at Local First Arizona, and then hearing from our business service sector and then into our retail sector. So I'm going to start by just identifying the need. Bethany, next slide. And really reminding everyone that part of the beauty of being small is that you have the ability to pivot and pivot quickly. You don't have to go through a giant corporate structure to make a very significant change in the way you're doing business. And so just keep that in mind. I'm going to be talking about some real innovative ideas. And I also want to let everyone know that we are offering one-on-one consulting. So as I move through some creative ideas here, I want you to know that you can reach out to us if you feel mentally stuck and you just don't know what to do differently about your business. Next slide. So please consider that we really see small businesses moving through a 3-phase recovery. This is the area that we're in right now is squarely in triage, and we're starting to take a glimpse into recovery as Chris just outlined for us. But triage is really sitting down, assessing your business, figuring out what is working, and more importantly, what is going to work in the future. We really have landed in an entirely new world. And I don't think that anyone who is just going to continue doing business as they were before solely is going to perform well. As we transition into recovery, there are a lot of new tools, new things to learn. Please know you're not alone. There are plenty of people out there that are willing to dedicate their time to help your small business survive. And then keep an eye on resiliency. I think it's important to note that many things in our economy were broken, and those are being clearly identified now. So as we look to rebuilding, we need to think about how we can build it in a more inclusive manner and a more sustainable manner, and certainly a more resilient manner so that we don't find ourselves in this position in the future. So next slide, Bethany. For us with small businesses, these are the different types of categories, certainly not the only types of categories, but these are the ones that we're primarily hearing from who have excellent examples of how they've been able to pivot their business. Don't fret if you don't see yourself on this list. In fact, call us if you're not on this list and identify yourself and your innovative idea, and we'll make sure that we can help you get the word out about what you're doing. Next slide. So one of the things that we focused on at Local First was a small grant. We call them micro grants for our smallest entrepreneurs. And I wanted to give you a snapshot of how many applications we received just on one day. If we look at this as a simple glimpse into the application that was up on our website for 3 weeks. This is after and during the first PPP round that Chris mentioned that we did not perform well. So we turned to the private sector and our corporate partners, and we were able to raise a large sum of money that we were able to distribute very quickly. Now, note that these are businesses with only under 3 entrepreneurs. We decided to focus on our most vulnerable, smallest entrepreneurs. The vast majority of these are family owned. And if you look at just that one day, those businesses, 314 businesses that applied, represent 555 jobs. So if I came to you and said, we're hearing from one Arizona business every day that has more than 500 employees that is closing down, our leadership would be running around with their hair on fire. That sounds like the crisis that it is. But because we're all so small, we're a million points of light, rarely do we think about aggregating those numbers so that we can all begin to see the importance of this micro enterprise on Arizona's economy. So I wanted to point that out. So just to give you some context of how important this group of small businesses is to Arizona's overall economy. So now we're going to highlight where we are so far. Next up, we have raised $650,000 and we've distributed $470,000. This number has actually grown since the date you can see on the screen. This is in $2,500 increments. Next slide. Now I'm going to dig into who out there is actually doing great work. And once again, we are focused today on business services and retail. So, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions after this. Next slide. So the first one I want to feature is Goodfellas Merch. They are actually setting up online merchandising stores for retailers. So, and also nonprofits. So they noticed a gap in the market where if a nonprofit wanted to do, say, a fundraiser and they wanted to print beanie caps, baseball hats, t-shirts, hoodies, they lacked the resources to invest in all of that merchandise. Well, at Goodfellas, they'll set up your online merchandising store and manage it for you, and you will only do print on demand. And that significantly lowers the cost for the small business to be able to manage that. So again, that's Goodfellas Merch. Next slide. Another thing that we really recommend is looking at how you can respond to current needs. This example is Studio ADT. It's a frame shop. And what they did is, they were dead in the water until they realized there are so many parents that really want to celebrate their child's accomplishment, whether it be 8th grade, high school, or college graduation. And so they stepped up and ran a special and a digital marketing campaign around frames and framing those certificates for homebound celebrations. And that's a great idea to respond to the current needs. Next up, TriTech Electronics. They usually work in massive office settings, and they've created an entire package for home office solutions. Again, pivoting quickly, carrying different merchandise, and putting it together in a package that enables people to make sure they look professional from home on the fly. Next up, we have a real estate agent who, Melissa Camp, who is offering cleaning services. If anybody lists with her, they can just drop it and go, and she will manage paying for and organizing the cleaning of your home. She's also offering 17 micro courses on a variety of topics related to home values. The first one is on solar and how that can impact the value of your home. She's not creating those herself. She's channeling them through the National Association of Realtors, which is a really brilliant way for her to leverage her time and resources to build her clientele right here at home. Next slide. Kids Stop Toys, they have done a fantastic job using FaceTime. They do FaceTime shopping for their customers. They have special phones that you call into. They will go out on the floor and they will spend one-on-one time helping you select that perfect gift. And I had to laugh because they actually, when they do delivery, home delivery, they will ring your doorbell and run, which adds to the glee of the children who open the door to find this wonderful gift from Kid Stop. Once again, just highlighting their exceptional customer service. Another couple of quick ideas. Next slide, please. Featuring my own business, not to sell you anything, but I wanted to use it as an example. We created a subscription service. We are a highly personalized, customized store that knows our customers well. We created a questionnaire that people can fill out, and they subscribe for a flat fee to get 2 albums a month for the next 3 months. So people paid us in advance, and then we'll give them a curated selection based on the feedback they gave us in their questionnaire to make sure that they're getting the type of music that they love. A couple of other things that I want to highlight. Another Hand Advantage. They introduced a whole series of how you can, sort of how-to courses that you can pay as you can afford to pay. And they've been focused on just helping businesses that are a little behind the curve in figuring out how to show up online for their customers. So I encourage you to reach out to them. They are offering one-on-one consulting so that you can get your mind around all the different things you need to be doing to keep pace in this rapid new world that we're living in. The final two that I just want to highlight, I heard about a DJ who was at a local club who got sidelined, and he went home, used his iPhone and one camera and made how-to DJ, sort of secret tips of being a great DJ. And he's been able to sell those. You can tune in for a certain flat rate to learn those tips from him. And then finally, there was a hairstylist company that partnered with their product manufacturer to deliver a series of how to look professional from home, how to cut your kids' hair, those types of things. They put a link in to sell the products. And if you sell the products through your own homemade videos, they give you a kickback on the products. Again, they're investing in the tools and resources to advantage hairstylists to be able to sell more on the go. So that is my final slide, and I will hand it back to you and look forward to the Q&A.
Thanks, Kimber. What a great presentation. Some amazing stories there, including what you've done at Local First Arizona. And a question just popped in during your presentation. I was going to save it for later, but it's relevant now. You know, the great work creating those micro grants. The question that came in is, where did Local First raise the micro loan funds from?
So we had approximately 20 different corporate sponsors, so primarily corporate sponsors making donations, also the Arizona Commerce Authority, and several individuals. For example, Mike Bidwell, the owner of the Arizona Cardinals, contributed, was a major contributor that helped launch the campaign. So a wide variety of fantastic partners, APS, SRP, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, and a lot of other Arizona homegrown brands.
Great stuff again, Kimber, and we'll bring you back in for some more Q&A in just a moment. But let's transition now over to Monica Villalobos. She is the president and CEO of the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Monica, we've had so many discussions this year on leadership, on leading, on helping small businesses. And so we just want to have you weigh in now on the impact you're seeing in the local business community.
Sure. Thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to GPEC and to STN for this opportunity. And, just wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing at the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We've been around for about 70 years, since 1948. And we really focus in 5 key areas, which include economic development, market intelligence, capacity building, advocacy, and education as well. As of late, obviously, we've really been focusing on that economic development piece, but we focus a lot and really depend on the research that we have. So I wanted to set some context, talk a little bit about the disparity, and then what we're seeing through our businesses. We were definitely inspired and motivated by all of the work that Kimber's doing, and it's always hard to follow her in these circumstances because she does amazing and great work, but really inspired us for our own fund as well to help our members. And I'll share some of the data from that, as you know, I love data, so I'll share some of those numbers with you, and then also how our businesses are pivoting. So first and foremost, we know there are about 500,000 small businesses in the state of Arizona. About 125 of those are minority-owned businesses. Between 2007 and 2012, we know that all firms in Arizona, all small businesses, grew only about 2%. Minority-owned firms grew 60%, Hispanic-owned firms grew 70%, and Hispanic women-owned firms grew 116%. So during that Great Recession, when things were really dire, it was minority businesses and small businesses that were really driving Arizona's economy and keeping us afloat. However, we know that those businesses, while they're growing 3 to 4 times faster than non-minority owned businesses, their average annual revenue is also significantly less. So the average annual revenue for a minority owned business is about $110,000, whereas for a non-minority owned business, it's about $500,000. That gap, in very simple math, accounts for about $36 billion not being actualized into Arizona's economy for lack of scaling. So we've been telling this story for the last 2 or 3 years through our datos and market intelligence information. And one of the things that we feared has come to pass, which is when there is the slightest recession or the slightest downturn, these minority-owned firms only have about 2 weeks afloat. In fact, according to the JP Morgan Chase Research Institute, most small businesses only have about 2 weeks of reserves or float, that cash buffer that will get them through a difficult time. Minority businesses are very vulnerable in that sense. So we're now going into week 6, week 8, and these businesses are definitely scrambling. They are the most vulnerable. I know you've done sufficient coverage on PPP, and many folks have talked about that, but ultimately that money did not make it to the most vulnerable business segment. And that's why we felt it was really important for us to create our own fund. And we created the AZHCC Small Business Success Fund. Because we do believe in these minority businesses, we do believe in their entrepreneurial spirit, and we know that they have gone through much more difficult times, and they will get through this one as well. But our message has been, do not wait for someone to save you, right? You have to continue doing what you have been doing to be able to save yourselves. And that includes a really strong pivot strategy. We found it in our own organization as a nonprofit. We are suddenly doing things very, very differently, particularly as they relate to the success grants. These success grants were really meant to be a bridge. They were available to our members for $1,000 a week for 6 weeks. And one of our guests today, who you'll hear from in a little bit, Aisha Tedros, was a recipient of that grant. And the idea is that if we can help these businesses get to traditional lending with local organizations as opposed to predatory lending. We have heard horror stories about small businesses that are so, these times are so desperate. One of them that I recently spoke with took out a $10,000 loan at 50% interest. Frankly, I don't even know how that's legal, but it makes my head spin. And so we really need to help businesses get through to traditional lending and helping them. So our loan program wasn't just, or not our loan program, rather, our grant program was about getting them to the loan process in a safe way to keep their businesses and not, give everything away. What we found is that with just $1,000 a week, these businesses, again, when you remember that their average annual revenue is about $110,000, you're talking about 50% of their payroll every week. And so even with that, they were able to partner, and sort of combine that with pivot strategies partner with us in all of the different services, consultations, webinars, contacts that we have, and get through to traditional lending. We didn't want them to get stuck in a really bad situation where in recovery, they now owned a large portion of their loans that were going to come due, or loans that had extremely high interest. So that's why it was so important for us. In our own pivot strategy, we turned our business development team into grant response specialists. And, you know, again, I think it's local communities and local community organizations that will provide the answer, and that have been providing solutions for our local small businesses. Whether it's, you know, Kimber's work at Local First, whether it's CPLC Préstamos, whether it's the Arizona Hispanic Chamber, you know, we're all working to make sure that we're helping these businesses. And so our team really did that pivot strategy, and suddenly they're working, you know, much like they do in the banking field and underwriting. They're not underwriters, and we are not underwriting because these are grants, but we did need to collect information that we could share. And that was the beauty of our program, that we collected real-time data. And I want to share just a little bit of you know, around pivot strategies and the work that we've done to be able to help those businesses. We know that several of these businesses, about a third, turned to video consultation. We know that the lion's share of our grantees were in the professional services fields, and that's everything from insurance to video production to everything you can possibly imagine. And so a lot of these businesses turn to video consultation. You know, these kinds of Zoom meetings at GPEC and STN have become a wonderful solution for our businesses to be able to pivot and do this. We have seen our restaurants turn their waiters and waitresses into takeout and delivery ambassadors, caterers. We have one caterer that you know, is used to doing very large events, and obviously that's not happening right now. So now for Mother's Day, they're providing a smaller menu, an at-home menu for anywhere from 6 to 10 people, 6 to 12 people, and they're able to either take out or deliver that. You pick up this beautiful meal, and as a mother myself, I can tell you on Sunday, I will be picking up one of those meals so that I don't have to cook myself. So it's really exciting to see how these businesses are pivoting. They're converting to online sales. We know that there is a Hispanic Chamber of E-commerce. They've seen a huge influx of companies that want to convert to online platforms and e-commerce platforms. Really, other companies have focused on other areas of business, i.e. export, and you'll hear again from Aisha today on the work that she's done, not just in her coffee shop, but also in her import and export business. Other examples, you know, we've been talking one-on-one with all of our members. We've got an insurance member, and what we said to them was, can you call your customers? No one's driving their cars right now. Everybody is staying at home. Perhaps you can call them up and say, hey, you haven't used your car in a month. Why don't we switch you to low mileage so that your rates will go down, at least temporarily? And so that was one innovative solution that they could offer to their folks. The other thing that we're recommending is use that database. A lot of retail shops do not realize that they have a gold mine in their database customers. They're so accustomed for retail customers to come through the door, but you're collecting that information. You have that data. Use it. Reach out to them. Call them. You know who your favorite customers are. You have far more power than you think you do. So, you know, in conclusion, I would just say the three big things are: don't wait for anyone to save you. Do what you have always done. Call on your community to carry your water. Call on your community to help you. The second thing is be of service to your customers. We're finding an incredible amount of compassion during this time, and that's really helpful. In the recovery period, customers will remember that, and it increases their loyalty. And then the third thing is work together. You know, when you're in industries, you think you have competitors, you actually have allies. How can you work together to buy in volume, to be able to mitigate your losses, to share your resources? And remember, as Kimber said, you're not alone. We are here for you. There are a lot of resources.
Monica, thank you so much. And again, tremendous work with the success grants. We're going to bring you back for some Q&A. I do want to mention the Q&A. We do have a live engaged audience. I know a lot of you out there watching. So remember to use that feature at the bottom of your screen. Some questions coming in as we speak, and we'll try to get those towards the end of the webinar. But we want to transition right now. We have some local business owners joining us, and we're going to talk about how they have pivoted their business model in response to COVID-19. And the first one I want to bring in is Cindy Dach. She is a writer, artist, community advocate, and the co-owner of Changing Hands Bookstore, Arizona's oldest and largest independent bookstore. She co-founded an artist-run gallery, Made Art Boutique. She is the co-founder and executive board member for Roosevelt Row Community Development Corporation. So Cindy, thanks for being here. And can you just kind of quickly share with us how you've pivoted your business model?
Sure, and thank you for having us. So Changing Hands, we were established in 1974, and we very much prided ourselves on being a community gathering place. And then suddenly in March, being a community gathering place became a liability, which was just the first heartbreaking. And then pivoting from grief to how do we make sure that we're here in the future, and how do we pivot? And this was all before there was any possibility of loans or funding. So we had a very creative staff, and we said, well, our mission is connecting people with the written word, connecting people with books and beautiful gifts. And we leaned into everything with transparency, both with the public, both with our staff, and just started coming up with ideas. So to start, we emailed every single customer we had, through our email list, and said, buying a gift card from us is what you can do, because people started saying, what can we do? So we did a gift card campaign, which in the first couple of days was just magical, and it actually has been continuing. Then we started coming up with really creative ideas like the book care package. So similar to what Kimber was doing, we have an online really fun quiz that you take, and then one of our booksellers runs around and matches a book based on the quiz that you take. And then from there, we pivoted from care packages to book bundles. So the care package might be a book and a gift, and it's a surprise gift. They are themed, such as like the Crazy Cat Lady care package. But then we pivoted to book bundles, and then Mother's Day bundles and graduation bundles. And our website, we've always had a small online business, but it's been a very difficult area for us to compete in. And we've just been floored by the response by our community, by how many online orders we're getting. So our first pivot also was, we had about 4 people on staff who knew how to process online orders. So 2 days after we closed, we were just training staff on how to process online orders. And now 18 people are processing online orders. We're so grateful for these orders. We're also learning how to become a shipping and a packaging company. And certainly speaking of grief, it's my booksellers have to move past, I came to a bookstore to, put books in people's hands, and now I'm mailing and shipping. But we move through it, and we pivot, and we're still here. So the creative stuff we're doing is the Mother's Day packages, the graduation packs. We have new programs coming out. We're now wading into virtual events. Figuring out the ROI on virtual events was difficult, but I think we're figuring that out right now. And again, one of the best resources we've done is we're connected to a lot of bookstores around the country, and we have weekly Zoom calls where we share best practices, talking to local booksellers. I feel like these earphones have been in my ears since March 18th, because all I do is talk to other people and say, how did you do this? And really just sharing and answering those questions of how we're doing everything. So we have a wine, beer, coffee bar in our Phoenix location. We've always had a to-go license. We're taking advantage of that. We were able to get the bar up on its own website so that people can be ordering online. These are all things that, the sad thing is, we've probably spent the past 10 years talking about how we needed to do this and how to do it. And suddenly it took one pandemic and about 5 days for us to get our act together. And focus on technology, which was not our comfort zone, focus on how do we stay in our mission, and how do we get really, really creative and transition and still serve the public. We're also doing things like making sure that foster care families are getting books and people are making donations so we can send these family packs. We haven't been able to put gifts online on our website. So we redesigned the front of both of our stores and put toys and gifts in all of our windows. So, and I come from the East Coast, so this is what I grew up with, but people are walking up to our windows, calling us on the phone, pointing to puzzles, and we're selling it over the phone and then bringing it out to them curbside. So it's really not a, we can't do this, it's a, how do we do this and how do we pivot and what can we do next? And I'm grateful that my staff is just so creative. And now we sort of have a queue of what idea do we launch next? Because of course there's a lot of logistics and labor to every creative idea, but it's also invigorating, and it makes us believe and know that we're gonna be here on the other side of this. We're just gonna look a little bit different, and we believe that many of the things we're doing now, like the care packages, are here to stay. Because as a business, it's also our responsibility to say, what if there is another wave of this pandemic? What if this happens again? How do we pivot quicker? So that's how we look at the future, and that's how we're going to make sure that we're still here on the other side of this.
Yeah, I love that, Cindy. And I want to quick follow up something you said at the beginning of your talk. You know, transparency was your first step, and you know, just what can we ask our customers? And I know you have that loyal community. Was there hesitation? Because it seems like that logical step to say, let's just be transparent and tell our customers what we need. Can you quickly just describe what that process was like, saying, hey, let's just send an email and say the best thing you can do is buy a gift card from us?
Mm-hmm. So the transparency started with our staff. We decided that we were going to be 100% honest with the way we're thinking about everything. Our staff is our first community. And then after our staff, the transparency is with the public and asking for what we need and being really honest. For example, many stores are doing GoFundMe campaigns. And when we started pivoting the way we did, we didn't feel that we wanted to just ask for money. We wanted to say, and that has been so successful. But we just said, what can we sell or what can we provide? We have an advantage being a bookstore. People are in need of books and entertainment. And that is definitely an advantage we had in our business. And then the fact that you can get a book and a beer. But you know, we were transparent and we actually told people they needed wine and beer.
I love it, Cindy. All right, moving from beer and wine to coffee now. Aisha, Tedros, we're going to bring you in. She started Oasis Coffee with her husband back in 2013. She's originally from Ethiopia, always dreamed of owning her own coffee shop to share the flavor and traditions of Ethiopian coffee with her community. And so I want to bring you in now and talk about how you've pivoted your business.
First of all, I would like to thank GBC and Arizona Chamber of Commerce for having me tell my story. And like you say, we started in 2013, our business, and we are the founder for it. And when this pandemic came, it was a big shock for us because our place is where people gather and have like a family, and we have most of our regulars that come in the morning, retired older people that want to come have a coffee and enjoy with their friends, and this is like a home for them. So it was really hard to not see every day nobody come in, and it was really shocking and sad to us and to them, and very scary. And quickly we start thinking, we're like offering them, you know, we can deliver to you in 5-mile range your coffee and your stuff. So we start doing that, delivering 5-mile range, and also shipping coffees. And we have a website, and we didn't sell much in our website before, but this time we did social media. We use everything we could to help advertise mouse to word, and our customers are very helpful and they were great. We even have a customer that she wrote us a check for $1,000 just to help. I mean, a lot of people touch us, like the Spanish Chamber. They come for us in very difficult time. Like we couldn't even pay our rent, but it's very touching, it's very emotional. But what I see from this, and it helped us to learn how to grow our mind and how we can serve people. Like we did curbside. We told people that tell your friends, word to mouth. And most of our customers tell everybody. Even we have people calling from other states, from Ohio, from Chicago, from everywhere, buying stuff to support us. And that really touched me. It's very touching. People care. People You know, that is something that I love people, and I'm sorry. I love people, and I did this to be around people, and it shows the hard work and how much we love people and how much they care and love us. We were touched so much by many customers, many people, even the chambers. Everybody ordered food, everybody helped buy a lot of stuff for their family and friends and neighbors. So it was a hard moment, but it was very touching to see how much people love us and care. And so we did the curbside, we did the delivery, and we did the website, and we did social media and mouth to mouth. Like I said, we have customers that were telling their customers in other states too that we don't know, that they can order coffees to support us and buy gift cards. And we're standing by that, and our door is open, and we're gonna stay open. We have confidence, and everybody's support. We're gonna make it, all of us. It's hard for small businesses, but we're gonna wake up from this. We're thankful, we're healthy, and everybody we know is healthy, and that's number one.
Well, Aisha, thank you so much for sharing. And I know so many small business owners who are watching this or will watch this absolutely connect with that emotion. And I want to bring Kimber back on for some
I'm
Q&A.
sorry.
No, you're okay.
I was just touched so much by everybody love and unity and the whole thing, you know? And it's just, I mean, it's I never seen people will care this much. And if this won't happen, we won't know, you know? So it's just show the love for that everybody has for everybody, how we're sharing things, food, I mean, everything. People were coming, do you need this, do you need this? I mean, everybody was helping to help us gather what we don't have and share what we have, you know, with everybody. So it was really touching moment to go to our customers and deliver their food and their coffees, and to see their exciting faces, and people that have like asthma and all this stuff. We make sure we package it and put it in their trunk for them in a special way. And it was some touchy moment on it. Yeah.
Well, Aisha, and that's the spectrum I want to bring Kimber to talk on, because you know she's having these one-on-one consultations now, Kimber, and listening to Aisha's story. You know, she said she didn't have any money to pay her rent, and then still at the tail end of our conversation has the confidence to say, no, we're going to make it through this. So I'm curious as to what those one-on-one conversations, again, these are free consultations, that's fantastic. What have those been like with small business owners? Are they very similar to what Aisha was talking about, where the lowest of lows, but confident coming out of this?
Absolutely. Eric, I think there's a lot of fear initially, a lot of uncertainty, but they realize when they see a community rallying around them, they feel a lot more confident and a lot more optimistic about what they can accomplish. So we've seen a lot of grief. I don't want to downplay how difficult this has been for so many families. And I know Chris has talked about in the past, and Monica mentioned it, how little reserves a lot of these businesses operate with. And so many of them spent their savings, their reserves on surviving March and April, and then heading into May, the faucets run dry. And so for those of you that are business owners watching, I would really reach out to the people in your community. Call the longtime customers that you've had. Work together to come up with solutions, because people do care a lot about small businesses like yours. So please don't face this alone. Reach out to other people, and they will help you find a way.
And Aisha, this is, I guess, is the Zoom version of our phone lines lighting up. I'll tell you right now, just some messages of encouragement coming in specifically for you. Aisha, we're all in this together. Your story is uplifting. I thank you for sharing. Good luck. Aisha, I love your store. Would love to help you connect with you and other coffee brands in Kenya, Rwanda. So again, Aisha, so many people, again, what you just alluded to, stepping up and showing they will support you. I do want to bring Monica into the conversation. Monica, you know, we talked about the PPP loans not getting in the places they need to get to, and then you had to create the success grants. And I think, did you notice some businesses relying too heavily on the PPP loan coming through? They put all their eggs in that basket, or were you able to help businesses understand there are other options out there?
No, I think early on, that was definitely what everyone was taking away from the media. That it was the promise of this money, will help us and reach us, and they were identifying a lot of things. Unfortunately, the systems were simply not in place for that money to get to the small businesses, and there was so much misinformation and confusion very early on. And I think that's when we, just sort of made a decision and said, even if this gets to our members and to our small businesses in Arizona, it may be too late. And we need to do something sooner than that to be that bridge. Even if they do get PPP, we are also doing those one-on-one consultations. We're encouraging folks to still apply for PPP, to still talk to your banks, make sure that you've got those relationships. But what we saw is that the first round of PPP went to businesses that had deep relationships with banking partners. Our partners simply didn't have that, right? And so we encourage them to still do that, but also don't count on it. So in answer to your question, I think everybody did kind of put their eggs in that basket and realize that they needed to diversify quickly.
Yeah, you said don't count on it, and then I'll transition over here to Cindy, because it seems like they've done exactly what you should do in this situation where, Cindy, you talked about, you had all these ideas, and I think as business owners and entrepreneurs, productive disruption is kind of in our DNA, but we do hesitate a little bit, and you were forced to, in this situation, say, how can we adapt and adjust? And so what advice do you have to other business owners out there who are either just kind of standing ground and, again, maybe waiting for that PPP loan, just the confidence to say, no, let's create a new product, let's create a new service?
It's moving forward. It's moving past the grief. So we're a business that has still not been funded by PPP. And at the beginning, we were keeping every single person on payroll. We were using our savings. We had a big sale that we had used. And then the most heartbreaking thing was when we realized we had to start laying people off, and these are our families. But even through that, it was just, how do we pivot? How do we change? We don't want to go away. And we still are hoping, I'm an optimist, we're still hoping that PPP comes through, but there's a small advantage that we didn't get the PPP yet, and that is we had to pivot really fast and come up with stuff that I think is sustainable. So I don't wish that we didn't get it. If I could go back time, I still would get it. But I think it put us in a position of having to survive much quicker and faster. And it's talk to other, be humble, talk to everybody. There's a lot of creative ideas out there.
And back to Kimber. Kimber, in those conversations you're having with local businesses and small businesses, are you seeing those pivots? And I've heard this, some of those pivots are not going to be temporary. They'll be permanent, and they're going to be a new way of doing business and a better way of doing business for a lot of these organizations.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it is, there's a lot of retailers right now that have completely changed their model. And so how do we go forward? I'll use my little store as an example. We now have 4 different websites that we're selling through, in addition to taking phone orders and curbside pickup and mail order. And in our little store, we have 6 different types of payment coming through now, Venmo, Square, PayPal. It used to be people walked in the store for the most part, and we get an occasional mail order, and everything was going through that channel. So that's one big challenge is how do, out of the same square feet, figure out how to accommodate all that different type of business. I mean, right now in our store, it looks like a mess because there's packaging, everywhere. And so how do we prepare to reopen? That's a big challenge. The other thing that I think a lot of folks aren't thinking about, and specifically for retail, when we do get to a point where we have customers in the door, we have to have new merchandise on the floor. And so, Cindy, your magazine rack is going to have February issues of the latest magazine. You have to get ready for having the newest. Our clothing retailers, they might have had a winter sale going on in February when they closed their doors, and they're going to open up in the middle of the summer. So we have to be able to dig deep and look in our reserves and be very creative about how we're going to get those doors back open and how we're going to serve all these different customers who are now engaging with us in a whole new way. And that's not going to change. So we have to be a jack of all trades and be prepared for it.
And Aisha, I'll bring you back in on the same topic there. Some of those pivots that you mentioned that you're making, is that why you have so much confidence? Again, I'm tying back to, you telling me you couldn't pay rent and now you have confidence. And is it because of those pivots that you've made?
The pivot helped a lot. And the first time, that is when the pandemic happened, we didn't have any sale. Nobody was coming in at all. So the pivot helped. So still our sale is 40 to 50% from what we had before. But the support of everybody and the love of everybody, it touched all of us, I mean, I didn't expect this. It just, and it gave me confidence that we're all going through it and we all gonna be okay, and I'm just gonna stay strong and do what I have to do and everything's gonna be okay. And so that's what it kept me strong.
But I'm
Go ahead, Kimber.
I'm going to order some tea right after we get off.
Thank you so much.
I think there's 200 people that are going to be ordering tea right after this. All right, we are approaching the end of today's webinar. Again, thank you all so much. Great information, very inspiring information as well for all of us. As we wrap up here, I want to mention again, the next regional report will be on a resurgence of U.S. manufacturing. That will be next Tuesday, May 12th. From 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So look for that invite coming soon into your inbox. Also want to mention, we talked about so many resources here today. GPEC.org, tremendous website for those resources. Many of the participants today, Local First Arizona, the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, also great websites with great information on that.